Yesterday's date, October 27th, meant some big things recently for baseball in the city of St. Louis. Back in 2004. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Sorry, who was that? What, was that good enough, or?
A long-awaited probe into the death of a Nescandiga man gets underway. Council gets details on a $5 million budget shortfall. And KWG Resources says a pending patent application could have a major impact on the Ring of Fire.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. It's been nearly 7 years since the death of a Nescandiga First Nation man, and now the circumstances surrounding the incident are finally starting to come forward.
The coroner's inquest into the death of 27-year-old Bruce Munius began today in Thunder Bay. Testimony so far has revolved around his troubled past and details about the gunfire that broke out inside of his home. Courtney Rutherford reports.
It was December 11th, 2006 when 27-year-old Bruce Munius died at the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centre. Munius lived in Nescandiga with his father, Stanley Munius, all of his life. In his opening statement, Coroner Legal Counsel Leonard Kim said the post-mortem found that Munius's death was caused by a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the abdomen. The inquest, which is being webcast by the coroner's office, will look deeper into his death and his involvement with the Anishinaabe-Aski Nation Police Service and the OPP that evening. His father, Stanley Munius, took the witness stand and talked about Bruce's medical records and the psychiatric help he didn't receive.
He didn't want any help.
Tell us about the appointment where he refused to go.
I'm not sure if it's that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember that time he had an appointment to do with a counseling or assessment.
Yes.
And he refused it. He refused. I know that all times when I knew to meet his appointments, I'm trying to encourage him to go.
Munius's father had gone to play cards with a couple of friends down the street when a call came in that gunshots had been fired. Immediately, he picked up the phone to call his son Bruce, but there wasn't any answer. Meanwhile, a neighbor across the street, Jim Seguch, was sitting down for a late dinner and remembers the night clearly.
Oh, I heard a shot. I thought it was just a flat tire shot or something at first. And then the second one I could tell it was a shotgun blast. So I called the local police.
The inquest is scheduled to run over the next 2 weeks and include testimony from members of the Nescandiga community, family of Munius's, medical experts, and the police personnel who responded to the situation. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council will get an update on where this year's budget is sitting tonight, and the picture isn't pretty. The third quarter variance report is showing a budget shortfall of more than $5 million, with many departments in the red. A late winter and ongoing legal costs are leading the way in the budget troubles. Council will be informed of a $1 million cost overrun in legal services as a result of hiring external law firms and other ongoing litigation. Another $1.3 million overrun is due to a winter that wouldn't go away in the removal of snow. EMS, golf, transit, fire services, and municipal childcare are all over budget. Some departments are expected to end the year with a surplus, and that will be used to pay down some of the additional costs. The filling of vacant positions will also be put off until 2014.
The Canada Games Complex has been given the all-clear following a chlorine incident Saturday evening. Officials say all procedures were followed well, and the chances of this happening again anytime soon are unlikely. A staff member improperly mixed chemicals, which led to the release of chlorine gas. That staff member was then taken to a hospital for evaluation and has since been released. Overall, officials say this was a very low-risk incident, with minimal danger to patrons and other staff members. Fire officials responded to the complex just after 8 o'clock Saturday night. The building was evacuated in less than 10 minutes and the situation assessed before officials gave the all clear and let people return.
Everybody followed the procedures well. We reviewed the procedures just now, and we are going to review them again with the operating staff of the building who actually run the programming, and get their opinions, and if there's anything we can do to make things better, we will definitely implement them. But as it was, everybody did an excellent job.
The complex was closed for nearly 5 hours while emergency officials ensured it was safe. The volume of chemicals mixed was so low that it did not take long for them to dissipate on their own. And once again, officials say this was a rare instance and is unlikely to occur.
Officials with KWG Resources call it a game changer when it comes to the Ring of Fire. The company has applied for a patent on a new chromite processing method, one that uses natural gas as opposed to the more traditional and more expensive method using electricity. Ryan Benazzo explains.
KWG Resources, a major player in the Ring of Fire, is trying to patent a new method of turning chromite into ferrochrome, a key ingredient in the production of stainless steel. Their method uses natural gas furnaces to break down the mineral instead of electric ones.
It's a game changer with respect
Company
to
Vice
being
President
able
Mo
to use
Levine
Ontario
says with an abundance of cheap natural gas available in Canada, it makes much more economic sense to employ this technique in the reduction of chromite, especially here in Ontario, where energy rates are some of the highest in the country.
The current proposal to produce ferrochrome in Ontario uses electric arc furnaces, and the problem in Ontario is that electrical rates are very high, so it would be very costly to do that reduction in Ontario.
He says as it stands now, companies would rather build their plants in Quebec or Manitoba, where electricity rates are much lower. But this technique, Levine insists, would be a lot cheaper. Exactly how much money can be saved? That's not yet known for sure. But Levine says it's enough that KWG's plan for the Ring of Fire won't require any type of government subsidy.
Our plan, the combination of the railroad and these gas-fired reduction plants don't involve taxpayer money. They're self-financing, and they are also much more economical. So that means that the economic sustainability of the operations in a Ring of Fire will be much greater.
The patent application process is still in the early stages. There's no word yet on when it might be approved. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
Another historic wreck has been found in Lake Superior near Thunder Bay, and it's one with national significance. Two local divers who say they were just playing around have found what's believed to be the first vessel registered in the Dominion of Canada. The tugboat, named the Marianne, was built in 1867 and condemned in 1901, according to the website Graveyard of Ships. Diver Robert Valley and his partner David Shepard found the Marianne on the other side of the Welcome Islands about a year and a half ago. After a lot of research, it was determined to be the 78-foot-long tugboat. It was originally believed to have been sunk in the Graveyard of Ships in deeper water, but it turns out that wasn't the case. Valley says there are many more vessels to be found.
There's a lot out there that we haven't even found yet. And this one's nice because it's within the range of a recreational diver. So lots of people can get on it and see the way it's built, and it's still in remarkable shape.
Fellow diver and Nipissing Mayor Richard Harvey is working with Valley and Shepard to establish a local chapter of the Ontario Underwater Council. Harvey believes there's a huge potential for a new industry.
As you look at and start doing the historical documentation, looking at all the different wrecks that we've had, shipwrecks in this area, I truly believe that we've got the potential to be one of the top dive tourism destinations in Canada. We've got an advantage in the fact that our waters here are very, very clear in a lot of the different areas.
Harvey feels if shipwrecks were better documented and divers knew where to go, people would come from all over to tour them. He believes that will already be the case with this latest find, given its national significance.
Shelter House Thunder Bay has given up on its plans to acquire a neighboring building in the South Core. Back in May, the shelter was asking Thunder Bay's Crime Prevention Council to support their bid for the former EMS building on Donald Street. Shelter House Executive Director Patty Haidu was looking at using it to provide more beds to both youth and homeless adults. However, Haidu says right now the board has decided to back away from the expansion to solidify and maintain what they already have. She says the cost to renovate the MS building was far too extensive and costly.
Our concern is that if we spend, what reserves we have in terms of renovating a building without knowing where those operating dollars are coming from, we're putting ourselves in a risky position. And we really want to make sure that the services that we provide, these essential services to the citizens of Thunder Bay, remain strong and remain at their current levels.
In the meantime, Haidu says they will look at their current building and explore different ways to expand.
A new survey is asking whether you want to see art on the waterfront. The Thunder Bay Art Gallery is proposing a move to Prince Arthur's Landing in the next few years. This survey is aimed at getting public input and recommendations. The survey is part of a business plan to see what direction the gallery should take in its new location. In just 1 week, more than 400 people have responded to the online poll, and so far it seems that people are satisfied with the services offered, but there could always be more done.
So it really was about the services that the gallery provides. So we asked people if they would attend certain events at the gallery, certain services. So, for example, workshops, art classes, tours by curators, talks by artists.
Participants were also asked about their use of the waterfront, if they would like to see a bigger gift shop at the gallery, and the potential of a cafe in the new location. That survey will remain online until tomorrow. It will be used in conjunction with a fundraising feasibility study to create an overall business plan by the end of January.
It's become an institution in the community, and while the Carrie Chase Foundation is winding down its charitable efforts, the foundation's legacy in the field of animal welfare remains. Today, officials with the charity began the process of handing assets over to the Thunder Bay Community Foundation. Carrie Chase trustees presented TBCF with a $175,000 check this afternoon. That money, along with funds contributed by the Community Foundation, totals $245,000. The interest earned from that money will be used to set up a new animal welfare fund, which the foundation will distribute annually to local animal charities. Carrie Chase treasurer Ken Chase says after serving the community for more than a decade, they began looking for an exit strategy, and this is the perfect place to direct the foundation's assets.
$245,000 base that we now have within the Thunder Bay Community Foundation, that should provide income of about $12,000 to $15,000 for local charities, and that's well beyond what our foundation was able to do.
This is the first fund that we'll have that's going to focus exclusively on animal welfare, and we know that in the Thunder Bay community, the region, there's certainly a need for those dollars.
The Thunder Bay Community Foundation has given more than $3.5 million to local charities since its inception 42 years ago.
Definitely a good cause for there, for sure. Fiona, turning to weather, bright sunny, which is the good part, but pretty chilly, and not so good part when it comes to that.
Yeah, it was hard to come to grips with the temperatures that we were seeing today, because it certainly looked a lot warmer than it felt. In fact, we topped out with a high of just 2 Celsius. Not surprising was the low that we hit of -5 between about 8 and 9 this morning. First thing in the morning at this time of year is when you really see the lows hit their bottom level, and it certainly hit it today. However, at this time there's still lots of sunshine, even though the temperatures don't seem to really support the glorious scene we see out our windows at this time. It's really quite nice. -2 in Sioux Lookout and Upsala, Atikokan sitting on the freezing mark. Thunder Bay right now enjoying a healthy 1 Celsius, as is Sault Ste. Marie to the east. Tonight it's going to be a cold one, so I guess today was a chance to kind of get used to that cooler temperature, because we're dropping down to -9. That's nearly double digits below the freezing mark with just a few clouds. Winds, fortunately, are going to be relatively light, so you're not going to have to listen to that wonderful whistling sound outside your window that we've been experiencing the last couple of nights. And as we head into Tuesday, the most we can say is there's a lot of activity going on to the south of us, not a whole lot in our community, so it's looking fairly clear, fairly sunny, but not a whole lot of heat. We've got a choice. We've got showers, snow, or cold heading our way. I think if all we have to deal with is slightly cooler temperatures, I think we've got the best deal of the bunch. But there are cooler temperatures coming along the way, but first we'll get a little boost of temperature, a few degrees here and there, back and forth over the next few days. I'll have more details. I know a lot of people have plans for Halloween, and it's the age-old question, are there going to be snow pants underneath the costume? we'll have the answer to that later on in the news hour.
All right, thanks very much, Fiona. The bombshells continue to explode in Canada's Senate with a new volley from Mike Duffy today. We'll have the latest in that and more for you right after these words.
That line was written by the PMO to deceive Canadians.
It was a day of stunning allegations in the Senate, and they came from Senator Mike Duffy.
Duffy is one of 3 senators facing the possibility of being suspended without pay over expense claims, along with Pamela Wallin and Patrick Brazeau. Today, Duffy told the Senate there was an elaborate scheme orchestrated by the Prime Minister's office to try to make the controversy over his expenses go away. Julie Van Dusen has more on what the senator had to say.
Senator Mike Duffy had more to say, and he said it today in the Senate. Duffy gave more information, much more about the $90,000 payment made by Nigel Wright, the former chief of staff to Stephen Harper.
This was all part of his strategy, negotiated by his lawyers and the Conservative Party's lawyers to make a political situation embarrassing to his base go away.
Duffy says that not only was $90,000 paid, but a second check was written to cover his legal fees.
2 checks, at least 2 checks. The PMO had the Conservative Party's lawyer, Arthur Hamilton, pay my legal fees. He paid for my lawyer.
This is a copy of the check from Arthur Hamilton, the Conservative Party lawyer. Duffy says he was told to use his Royal Bank line of credit as a cover story for how he paid back the $90,000.
When they heard that I've been using a line of credit to renovate my home in Cavendish, they jumped right on it. It was suggested I go to the RBC, borrow the cash to pay off that line of credit. And then, when the media asked, where did you get the money to pay the $90,000? The PMO told me to say, my wife and I took out a loan at the Royal Bank. That line was written by the PMO to deceive Canadians as to the real source of the $90,000. They have no moral compass.
Duffy says as senators decide about his fate and that of the two other senators, they have a lot to consider.
The government could end this by simply withdrawing these dangerous and anti-democratic motions.
Julie Van Dusen, CBC News, Ottawa.
A 71-year-old Montreal man appeared in a Montreal courtroom today accused of trying to carry some bomb-making components, minus the explosives, onto a plane bound for Los Angeles. Alison Northcott has that story.
At the Montreal airport, things are back to normal after a security scare yesterday caused delays and prompted a criminal investigation. Police were alerted to a suspicious package early Sunday, a carry-on bag holding materials investigators say raised serious concerns.
There'd been all kind of device that was looking like, all put together, it could have been used to produce a potential bomb with no explosive.
Police arrested the 71-year-old man who was carrying the bag, then surrounded his neighborhood, evacuating nearby homes and carefully searching his apartment and car for evidence. Today, the police were gone, but neighbors were left with many questions.
It's a little scary because you really don't know your neighbors. I've been here almost 2 years, so it's a little scary when you don't know the situation or who your neighbors are, thinking that they could be a potential danger to you.
At the Montreal courthouse this afternoon, the suspect, Anthony Piazza, an Iranian-born Canadian citizen, was charged with several counts.
First, of being in the possession of explosive substances. Secondly, to be in the possession and attempting to get those substances inside of a civil airplane. And thirdly, it's a mischief for the use of the airport.
Piazza is known to police. He spent 10 years in a Quebec prison after he was convicted of importing drugs. His lawyer says he used to go by the name Husheng Nazemi until he legally changed it several years ago. Piazza's lawyer says his client is innocent, that the bag belonged to someone else, and he told reporters what police say was in it.
They were talking about bullets, they're talking about powder, they're talking about wire, they're talking about briquette.
Police say they still have many questions about Piazza's plans and his possible motives. Piazza will be back in court tomorrow for a bail hearing. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
How do you pay for your purchases? Most of us would say we use cash or debit or credit cards. But a Vancouver coffee shop is hoping to give a boost to another idea, Bitcoins. Harvard Gold has more on that.
It's being billed as the world's first Bitcoin ATM, being installed in Vancouver today. And it's expected that soon Canadians in several provinces will be able to put dollars in a machine like this one and get Bitcoins back.
What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency.
Bitcoins appeal to many geeks and anyone suspicious of governments. People who are thrilled by the idea of a currency that can be sent unregulated almost anywhere for almost nothing.
There's a techie cool factor to it. It's digital currency, it's cash for the internet.
Understanding how that invisible cash is being created isn't simple. Basically, anyone whose computer solves a sophisticated online mathematical equation gets a digital coin. Up to 21 million coins will be created. Those already in circulation are being traded.
It's not a Ponzi scheme where it's going to blow up at the end.
Critics say Bitcoins are harder for authorities to track and so perfect for money launderers and drug dealers, something Bitcoin supporters dispute.
Really, I see a future not too far off where people really have a meaningful choice in currency. They have a choice in the way that they transact. They don't always have to send dollars or some derivative of a dollar. They can send a Bitcoin.
The value of bitcoins has fluctuated wildly, meaning some speculators have made money betting on bitcoins. But backers say the more bitcoins are understood and used, the more stable this new type of currency will become. Howard Gould, CBC News, Toronto.
And just hit.
A fierce Atlantic storm has slammed into southern France, southern England rather, northern France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, killing at least a half dozen people. Ali Ayad has that story.
Unlike most storms that brew off Britain's coast, today's only got stronger when it made landfall.
There it goes.
No wonder they called it the nastiest in a generation. As the St. Jude's Day storm moved in, a wicked wind gusting up to 160 kilometers an hour claimed countless trees.
Something wrong in the garden, and we opened up the kitchen door, and the tree was coming into the kitchen, coming into the kitchen.
In one case, also claiming the life of a teenager sleeping in a mobile home. Even a mighty London crane crumpled in the face of gale force winds, crashing into the Cabinet Office near Downing Street. But here too it was fallen trees that kept emergency crews busy. Residents say one hit a gas pipe, apparently causing an explosion, claiming homes and lives.
I had never heard of such explosion in my life, so it was very, very scary, especially for the children.
Yeah. But the biggest issue this country has had to deal with since St. Jude arrived is the disruption to travel. Overground rail services cancelled, Heathrow having to cancel a number of flights, dozens of flights, and even suspending landings for a few minutes this morning on account of the high winds.
Flight schedules at Europe's busiest airport wobbled throughout the day. And at the rail stations that keep this country connected, time seemed to stand still. Most services severely delayed or cancelled.
I don't think I'll get to my destination on time.
Though not as fierce as initially expected, St. Jude still managed to leave 500,000 people without power. Fierce enough to call off a search for a missing boy he's yet to be found, and fierce enough to force ferries to suspend their crossings, cutting the UK off from mainland Europe. It is there now that St. Jude delivers its wild wallop, leaving behind many battered and bewildered. Nala Ayed, CBC News, London.
A new study is out on breast cancer survivors. Researchers tracked a group of women over several years, and they looked at survivors' quality of life compared with women who have never had breast cancer. Cass Rusi has more on what the study found.
If determination had a name, it would be called Diane. At 59, Diane Mowat is a fitness fiend, pushing herself through a grueling exercise routine at a downtown Toronto gym. In 2002, Mowat was diagnosed with breast cancer. When chemotherapy robbed her of her long brunette mane, she opted for a new look.
Did it a really toxic pink, and I showed up to work, and the reaction was exactly what I wanted. It was, what the heck did you do to your hair?
Mowat says breast cancer changed her life. In fact, in a good way.
My quality of life has improved. I enjoy life way more than I ever did before.
She's not alone. A recent Canadian study of women with breast cancer found that long-term survivors had just as good a quality of life as women who never had the disease.
What was novel about our work was that
Dr. Pam Goodwin is the lead author of the report. She followed the same group of women, about 300, over a long period of time, from diagnosis to 1 year later, and on average, about 12 years after that. With the help of questionnaires, she then measured factors like pain, fatigue, and emotions.
the quality of life of women with breast cancer was almost the same as the quality of life of the women without breast cancer.
So what's changed? Well, more effective chemo treatments for one, and
the early diagnosis that we see as a result of mammographic screening and women being generally more aware of their breast health have led to amazing advances in breast cancer outcome.
It's translated into some of the highest breast cancer survival rates in decades.
Well, if anyone would have told me when I was 48 years old and diagnosed that I would go on and become an athlete, I would have laughed at you. I would have seriously laughed at you.
Cass Rusi, CBC News, Toronto.
Some see it as the last right, the right to die, and debate is growing about whether to legalize doctor-assisted suicide. One former Supreme Court of Canada justice involved in the Sue Rodriguez right to die case says Parliament must act to clear up the law. Duncan McHugh reports.
2 decades ago, he was the new guy on the bench when Sue Rodriguez asked the Supreme Court of Canada to overturn the law against assisted suicide.
I don't think any of the 9 judges had anything but sympathy for this woman.
Rodriguez, dying of ALS, argued she had a constitutional right to ask a doctor to end her life.
Whose body is this? Who owns my life?
In the end, it was a split decision, 5-4 against Rodriguez. Justice Major sided with the majority. Still, he's emphatic. The court sent a message to Parliament, modernized the law on assisted suicide.
If your question was, would you like to see Parliament decide something on this? My answer is yes. They should decide something. They know it's an issue of public concern. Debate it in the House. Have a vote. I mean, what's Parliament for?
The national debate over assisted suicide is growing, with politicians in Quebec proposing a provincial euthanasia bill.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
And a recent video from Dr. Donald Lowe advocating his right to die.
I wish they could live in my body for 24 hours.
This constitutional expert says it's time the highest court in the land took a new look at the old law.
We've actually got some jurisdictions in the United States and in Europe that have developed fairly detailed, well thought out, evidence-based approaches to ensuring that allowing a right to assisted suicide does not lead to abuse.
For its part, the Harper government has stated repeatedly it has no interest in reopening the assisted suicide debate. Duncan McHugh, CBC News, Vancouver.
Let's take a look at today's activity on the markets today, and it was a very calm day across the board. TSX fell back 27 points to 13,371. The Dow slipped a point to 15,568. The Nasdaq dipped 3 points to 39.40. The dollar was up about 1/10 of a cent to 95.74 cents US. Gold held steady at $1,352 an ounce, and oil up slightly to just over $98 a barrel. St. Louis Cardinals and the Boston Red Sox had the two best records in Major League Baseball going into this year's World Series. And you can see that as this series is played out. All knotted up at 2 now, just a 3-game series, and it's been back and forth all series long.
And it's been wild, just the number of things that have happened in this World Series. Game 3 ending on an obstruction call, more drama last night. Let's get to that. Let's do that. Yesterday's date, October 27th, has meant some big things recently for baseball in the city of St. Louis. Now, back in 2004, the Red Sox beat the Cardinals to win the World Series and end the 86-year curse of the Bambino. Then in 2006, it was St. Louis who clinched the Fall Classic over the Detroit Tigers. That was their 11th World Series win. Now, it's been a wild World Series so far, as we were just talking about, and that, coupled with the magic of yesterday's date, led to some more drama to the end of Game 4 last evening. Pick it up scoreless in the bottom of the third. Matt Carpenter singles up the middle off Clay Buckholz's seams routine, but Jacoby Ellsbury misplays it. That's important because it allows Carpenter to advance to second. Ellsbury was charged with an error. Next batter is Carlos Beltran, and he promptly singles to center as well. Carpenter didn't get a good jump, but still scores without a throw to the plate. Beltran continues to deliver in the playoffs. Cardinals take a 1-0 lead. Top 5, it's the Red Sox star's turn to shine. David Ortiz doubles to the gap in right center off Lance Lynn. Ball goes all the way to the wall. Big Poppy, he's got himself a stand-up double, and he's pumped. After Lynn walked next 2 batters, Stephen Drew lifts a fly ball to left. Matt Holliday is there to make the catch. Poppy tagging at third. We've got another play at the plate. The ball hits Ortiz, and he's safe. Tie game 1-1. Top 6, Johnny Gomes unties it. How about this? See ya. No doubt home run to left. The ball goes into the Boston bullpen. It's a 3-run shot. His first of the postseason. Fear the beard. Look at that thing. That's nuts. Gives the Red Sox a 4-1 lead. Skip to the bottom of the ninth. Now 4-2. Man on. Beltran at the dish. But Koji Uehara picks off Colton Wong to end the game. Again, we've seen almost everything in this World Series. But Game 4 ends with a pickoff. Red Sox win 4-2 to even the series at 2 games apiece. What's going to happen tonight? Adam Wainwright goes against John Lester in game number 5. On the gridiron, Week 8 in the NFL concludes tonight when the Seahawks visit the Rams in St. Louis. A busy night in the Gateway City with both Game 5 in the World Series and the Monday Nighter. But sticking with football, yesterday was a good day to watch football all afternoon. It was scoring galore with 5 games ending in blowouts. There were also a couple of huge receiving performances as well as a candidate for Game of the Year. That one was this one, Cowboys and Lions. 4th quarter, Tony Romo to Des Bryant. His second touchdown of the game puts Dallas on top 27-17. Next, Detroit drive, Matt Stafford to Calvin Johnson. This guy was just ridiculous. Caught 14 passes for 329 yards, just 6 short of the single-game record. That set up a Reggie Bush touchdown. 30 seconds to play. Lions down 6. Stafford finds Johnson again. Almost 80 yards in 4 plays they went. Detroit without a timeout, so Stafford hurrying them to the line to spike the ball. Waits for everyone to get in place and catches everyone off guard by jumping over the pile for the touchdown. Lions kick the extra point. They win the game 31-30. How about the Browns and Chiefs? 2nd quarter, Alex Smith dumps it off to fullback Anthony Sherman, who does the rest. Puts KC on top 13-zip. Later in the second, Jason Campbell getting the start for Cleveland. Little flea flicker action, though, and then he finds Josh Gordon deep for the 40-yard touchdown. Browns cut the lead to 13-7, but before the half is done, Smith to Dexter McClusker. That's a touchdown. This one stayed close down the stretch, but KC hung on to win 20-17. They're still undefeated, 8-0. Steelers and Raiders, first play of the game. Terrell Pryor fools everyone, and he's got 93 yards for the touchdown. It's the longest run in NFL history by a quarterback, also the longest run in Oakland franchise history. Raiders win 21-18. Bills and Saints, 2nd quarter. Drew Brees airs it out for Kenny Stills down the sidelines. He had 3 catches for 129 yards and this touchdown, 14-10 New Orleans. Later, Brees to Jimmy Graham. He had 2 touchdown receptions. Despite playing with an injured foot, Saints blow out Buffalo 35-17. And then from London, England, 49ers and Jags, Cecil Shorts with the Union Jack, but it didn't help them. Frank Gore, touchdown on the opening drive. San Fran wins big 42-10. The Jags will play 4 games in London over the next 4 years. The Sunday Nighter, Packers and Vikings. Minnesota kept it close, but Green Bay was too much. They ran away with it late. James Stark took the long touchdown run. Aaron Rodgers threw for 2 more. Packers take it 44-31. On the local scene, the Lakehead men's basketball team lost their final preseason tune-up on Saturday night. The Manitoba Bisons edged the Wolves 74-72. Anthony McIntosh had a career-high 28 points for LU, who open their regular season next weekend with a pair of games on the road against Queens and York. Meanwhile, on the ice, the Lakehead hockey team is 5-1 after a weekend sweep of the Laurier Golden Hawks. After a 5-4 win on Friday, the Wolves got some secondary scoring on Saturday to win 4-2. Head coach Bill McDonald called it a hard-fought series.
They're a big team and they play physical and they get in your face and they cause a lot of havoc in their own end. But I guess on the good part of it, we've been in these games and we've won these games, and I think to win these games you have to show a little bit of obviously character with block shots and work around the boards, and we managed to pull it out again.
Ryan McGill scored the game-winning goal while the Wolves were shorthanded in the third period. Justin McDonald made 29 saves to record his 5th win of this season, but all the talk after the game was about rookie defenseman Nathan Briere's rocket of a shot. Briere recorded his first career CIS goal with a blast on the power play in the third, just seconds after he rang one off the crossbar.
It's a big goal. I mean, you got to try to score some goals on the power play, and it just happened to go in. So growing up in a small community like Eagle Lake, we don't have much to do, and we had open ice all throughout when I was growing up. So right after school, I'd go down and shoot pucks all evening until my mom wanted me to come home. That's what I did as a kid.
I think Briere's might get a couple more because he can bomb it. The kid's a good player. Briere makes a lot of rookie mistakes, but I'll tell you what, he's pleasant to be around so far, and he's got a real good future in hockey, I believe. The guys are loving each other, and that happens when you win. And I'm not dumb enough to stand here, and we're going to go through some adversity yet. But it's good to have a good start with these guys, and obviously we need the points. And it'll be a lot tougher next weekend probably when Alberta rolls in here.
Just mentioned the Wolves will host the #1 team in the CIS, the Alberta Golden Bears, for a pair of games at the Gardens next weekend. Staying with those games from the weekend, Thunder Bay native Greg Puhalski had a chance to return to the Lakehead. Puhalski is in his 4th season as head coach of the Golden Hawks. The former draft pick of the Boston Bruins also played for Laurier for 4 seasons after a stint in the OHL. I had the chance to talk to him after Saturday night's game about returning to his hometown and if he would consider taking a coaching job here in Thunder Bay.
Yeah, it's always a good time. I've got family still here in Thunder Bay, obviously a good chance to reconnect with them and a few friends as well, and even past friends from my childhood days, going to Westgate or playing baseball or minor league hockey. It's always great to catch up with those people, and obviously friendships mean a lot to me, and it's nice to renew them. I think my wife might defer a little bit just based on the weather alone. So I moved away from here when I was 17 years old, and I'm 49 now, or coming on 49. So it's been almost a little over 30 years since I lived here. Kind of made my home in different places. Enjoy visiting here. Not sure if we'll make it our home. I'll defer.
On the ice, Matt Molson will make his debut for the Buffalo Sabres tonight, just one day after being traded from the Islanders. The Sabres also acquired a first-round pick in next year's draft and a second-round pick in 2015 in exchange for Thomas Vanek. Buffalo hosts Dallas in one of 5 games on the NHL schedule this evening. Elsewhere, the New York Rangers finally play their first home game of this season as they welcome the Montreal Canadiens to Madison Square Garden. The Rangers opened the season on a 9-game road trip while MSG underwent renovations. How about action yesterday? Sharks and Sens early first period followed the bouncing puck. It gets all the way to the front of the net before Thomas Hertl buries it past Craig Anderson. Already the rookie's 8th goal of the season, 1-0 San Jose. A short while later, Brad Stewart carries into the zone. Anderson makes his save, but the Sens can't clear, and Andrew Desjardins scores on the backhand from the slot. His first of the year makes it 2-0 Sharks. Still in the first, Erik Karlsson keeps the puck in at the line. Kyle Turris works it at the half boards before teeing it up for Karlsson. His blast clips the shoulder of Alex Stalock, but it finds the back of the net. His third cuts the lead in half. Before the period is over, Karlsson, not so sharp on the power play, turns the puck over at the blue line. Logan Couture is sprung on the shorthanded break. He's stopped, but the puck lies in the crease, and Tommy Wingles is there to put home his third. San Jose went on to win this game 5-2. Elsewhere, Jets and Avalanche. Paul Stastny scored the game winner to give Colorado the 3-2 win. It's their 10th victory of this month. Yeah, wild. And the Kings and Oilers needed a shootout. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has to score, but he fires it wide. LA wins 2-1. Tampa Bay center Steven Stamkos is the NHL's first star of the week. Stamkos had 3 goals and 4 assists as the Lightning won all 3 of their games last week to move into top spot in the Atlantic Division. Toronto winger Phil Kessel is your second star, while Vancouver forward Ryan Kessler is the third star. And Lydia Ko is joining the LPGA Tour a couple of years early. The organization is waiving its age requirement to let the 16-year-old from New Zealand become a member. Ko was 15 when she became the youngest winner of an LPGA Tour event last year at the Canadian Women's Open. She defended her title this year. Now, the LPGA usually requires golfers to become 18 before joining them. So that's quite the story, to be 16 and joining a professional golf tour.
Yeah,
good for her.
With that level of talent, it's kind of hard to keep her out, isn't it?
It's very true at this point. Outstanding.
Thank you, Ben.
No problem.
All right, well, tonight we've got 2 of my favorite shows this fall. We've got Sherlock Holmes and The Blacklist, Ray Reddington lining up your global lineup. With more, here's Teletalk.
Tonight's lineup focuses on the past, the present, and the future on Global Thunder Bay. Starting at 8 on Elementary, a British serial killer with ties to Sherlock's past comes to New York. Then at 9 on Hawaii Five-0, the team hunts for Wo Fat to avenge the death of a family member. And at 10 p.m. on The Blacklist, Tom confronts Liz about the mysterious box hidden at home. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay, we have a history of mystery and some killer mind games. First at 8 on Murdoch Mysteries, William's prime suspect appears to have returned from the dead. Then at 9, Aiden discovers that people really are out to get a paranoid man on Cracked. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
We have seen temperatures drop over the last few days, Fiona. We're not the only place that is seeing some fairly chilly temperatures.
Yeah, Alberta quite cool today. Calgary this afternoon, -8, -9. It was very chilly out west, which is why I know growing up I had somebody who was constantly reminding me if I ever complained about anything, don't complain, there's always somebody who's got it worse than you. So I think we can definitely say Alberta had it worse than we did. We hit a high of 2 Celsius under mainly sunny skies and a low of just -5. Temperature-wise, there is definitely something happening across the country. It is turning from fall slowly into winter. You can see the cool temperatures. At this hour, we are all near the freezing mark for the most part. This darker green below freezing, and you can see overnight tonight, it's going to be blanketing much of the country well into BC. Tomorrow, we continue to be one of the cooler spots with temperatures very similar to what we saw today, but by Wednesday and even into Thursday, we're going to get a slight boost in temperature. Still below the double digits, we'll admit that, but a little bit warmer, more seasonal values, 6, 7 Celsius for much of the region. If we take a look at what's happening, this high pressure center moved across the Great Lakes today. As we head into tomorrow, we have a low pushing up from the south, and we have another system dropping down from the north as we head into Wednesday. So actually tomorrow and into Wednesday looking pretty calm, but this is going to set the stage for Thursday, where we're going to be squished between a couple of systems, a lot of potential precipitation, which does not bode well for trick-or-treating on Thursday. Now, if we take a look at the forecast for tonight, very chilly in some places, double-digit lows, -12 for Atikokan, -13 for Upsala, under just a few clouds, which is why it is going to be so cool, nothing holding any daytime heating. And then tomorrow, a repeat very similar to what we saw today, maybe even a degree or two cooler with -1 or the freezing mark, very consistent temperatures under mix of sun and cloud. This hour we're at 2 Celsius. It is mainly clear, and tonight just a few clouds. That's why we're going to be dropping down to -9 with winds very light from the north. First thing in the morning, -7 and a few clouds. By the afternoon, still sunny, and we might top out with a high of about 2 Celsius under partly sunny skies. As we head into Wednesday, we'll hit 6 Celsius under partly sunny conditions, but by Thursday there's a 70% chance of showers and a high of 8. Temperature's great, sky not so much. Friday, possible mix of rain and snow with lows hitting below the freezing mark, and by Saturday we're dry again, but a high of just 3 Celsius. And that's our forecast.
All right, thanks very much, Fiona. Well, it's a morning ritual for millions upon millions of people. But now, one coffee house has found a way to put a new artful twist on your morning coffee. Details on that and more right after these words.
Well, how's this for eye-catching? This Tokyo artist is bringing his 3D designs to people's favorite morning beverage, like canine portraits and the cappuccinos. He says the tough part is finishing before all the foam breaks down. All of his work has to be completed in 5 minutes or less.
And you would actually drink that?
Yes, I think that's
Who
awesome.
has time in the morning to wait for
That brightens your day. If a coffee doesn't get you excited to enjoy your day, that would.
It is cute. It is cute.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, after a long wait, an inquest into the 2006 death of a Neskantaga man got underway in Thunder Bay today.
Sports-wise, busy night, World Series Game 5, Monday nighter, as well as NHL hockey. 5 games on the schedule, so big sports night.
And a cold night ahead. -9 is going to be the overnight low. The good news is the sunshine will be back tomorrow. The bad news is there won't be much heat with it. You're going to have to wait at least until Wednesday to see more seasonal values.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good night.